Pastor Drew invited me to speak. I asked him for 10 minutes. He said, "I'm sorry, you only get 3 minutes." So we compromised, and I'll be speaking for 180 seconds. 180 seconds is about all it takes to empty 2 30-round magazines of a clip-fed, gas-operated, air-cooled, semi-automatic assault weapon. I know that as an intelligence agent in another life and a critical incident manager in government for a very long and elderly time. 180 seconds. That's time to do a lot of praying also. But in Judaism and in other faiths as well, prayers for action without a follow-up action is a sin. Ironically, how can prayers be a sin? And the answer is if you do nothing to make them real, to turn them into action. I'm going to speak about a couple of my heroes here in my 52 seconds left. One is Albert Einstein, who said the world will not be destroyed by persons who do evil. It will be destroyed by persons who watch and do nothing. Think about that. You are not guilty, Your Honor, of doing nothing. But there's a gigantic world out there full of people afraid to do anything, confused, radically different in their views than the people in this area. And that is a wall through which we must figure out how to smash. My wife and I wandered through the Dachau concentration camp in Germany when I lived there and did things in trench coats there. And at the entrance to Dachau is a brilliant memorial statue of a gaunt, thin prisoner. And the inscription auf Deutsch, and I will spare you the German, but the inscription in English says, to honor the dead, to warn the living. To honor the dead, to warn the living. Today, we are here doing both. Certainly on this Memorial Day weekend of all times, we are honoring the dead, not only in our wars, but in our lives in general. Another hero, ancient Roman philosopher Cicero, tried to save the Roman Republic in the 1st century BC before the dictator took over, Julius Caesar. And he suggested the urgent, critical need for concordia civitatis, coming together for the sake of the greater good rather than your own momentary political or economic issue. And if you don't do that, warned Mr. Cicero, stand by, you will no longer have a republic. Remember, Ben Franklin, leaving the Constitutional Convention, was asked by a lady, how did it go, basically? And he said, "Madam, you have a republic if you can keep it. If you can keep it." And we're in danger based on what we're seeing in our trends here, not just horrific gun violence, but in our inability to have a concordia civitatis anymore. That's the real danger for America. So what can we do about it? Well, there are very specific gun restriction things that you mentioned here, and there's really a whole lot more. For example, I've written about the notion of mandatory conflict resolution training in elementary schools and on the way, all the way through high school graduation and even in our daily lives. Conflict resolution led by mental health professionals, led by members of the clergy, led by grandpas and grandmas, and maybe most important, led by little children themselves. We have bred a generation of little kids, many of whom are experts, sadly, at conflict resolution, and we should unleash their power. We have a few structural issues. Sorry, Drew, I am past my 180 seconds. Come yank me off the stage. I know how to deal with you if you do. Another one of those things, the structural issues, is we must figure out how to create term limits in the federal level of government. The greatest deliberative body in our country, arguably in the world, is the geriacia, from Greek, same root as geriatric, meaning the Senate. But look what's happened to the Senate. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, or you have hair left or you don't, it doesn't matter. We have a paralyzed federal system in many respects. I know that because I've sat in the command center as a county chief administrative officer following a hurricane, watching the feds roll in, flashing their badges, telling the local government officials, like these people, to get out of the way, federal government, pull over. I had the fun of saying, really? Tell you what, guess who's in charge of helping the citizens when there is a disaster? It's not the feds, it's the local people that make the difference. Local law enforcement, local hospital districts. So tell you what, FEMA, see that lovely, comfortable, reclining chair? Place your federal butts in that chair and we will tell you how you can help us and ask for your advice. And we need more of that. 50 years in local government convinces me that it is the local level, the one you can walk up to and park and walk in and express an opinion, where we can make the greatest difference. It's not flying into Reagan National Airport and trying to find anything in D.C. Voting is the greatest gun control measure we can come up with. If we go the route of looking at a technical issue, like let's eliminate bump stocks, let's eliminate 30-round magazines. How many of us have ever touched a bump stock or a 30-round magazine? And that's not the route to go to make an impact. The route to go is to encourage by eliminating a filibuster rule, by eliminating the everlasting, not a gobstopper, but the everlasting term limits, non-term limits in Congress. Those are things we can do to impact not just gun safety, but a whole lot more. So, having said all that, I go to my real hero, who taught me very much in life, Pete Seeger. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? And the answer to that is when they are taught by us. When they are taught by articulate people like the other three speakers, Drew, sorry, that you've heard here today. So, despite what state legislatures are trying to do with voting rights, forget that. Go vote. Go vote if it's 2 in the morning and you've had no food and no water. Go vote in person if you can't do it rationally, like by mail or by drive-through voter repositories. Vote. Vote. In the name of America, vote. If you're truly pro-life, how can you be pro-life and oppose the safety of our children from the dangers of gun violence? How can you be pro-choice and not spill over into what really is going on in America to allow us to have the choice to let our beautiful children and grandchildren live? And we can't forget that. So you're pro-life, you're pro-choice, it really doesn't matter. If you're really pro-choice, super. God bless you. Go figure out how to keep people from dying when they shouldn't die. Thank you very much for remaining awake, and I surrender the mic to Drew.